Hello and welcome to Rolling with Reviews. I'm Will, and with me as always is the one who's classically composed,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a review of Ovation. If you're interested in our two-player perspective and accessibility, check out our other video, Rolling with Two, Ovation. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. Ovation is an engine building and resource management game where your goals become one of the greatest classical composers of all time. You'll use inspiration, seek fortune, and patronage from the aristocracy. Get inspiration from attending your rivals' performances, and then perform your own works of great genius. The game ends when there are only 2 Maestro cards left, and the player who has the most legacy points wins. All right, so why did we get this?
Well, we like the theme.
Yep.
You're always interested when there's a female designer involved,
Yes.
And you're like, ooh.
And this is a New Zealand designer too.
Yes.
So it's nice to get outside of the United States and also outside of Europe because...
Of course, she is from California originally.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So transplant New Zealand,
Yes.
I guess you could say. Also, obviously we like the gameplay mechanics. I'm not going to say obviously, but that's, why we look into games.
Yeah, it was interesting to see what they were, and it's like, okay, let's try it.
Yep, so we backed the Kickstarter and here we are. So what do we like about the game?
The theme is classy.
It is really, it draws you in. The composers, the backside of all the boards has a biography. We were looking at some of these composers and we're like, we're not that familiar. So we were actually listening to some of the music. And it's just, it really draws you in with the production that it has.
Yeah, the dual layer board with the tracks actually being like piano keys. And then I absolutely love the first player marker.
Yes.
It's a G stave. It's a cutout of it in wood. And then it has a second piece that was just like this rectangle with a hole in it. Like, what is this? And Sarah's like, I think that's its stand.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you put it together and ooh.
It stands up.
It looks fancy.
It really does. And then all the wooden bits are shaped too, which is great for accessibility. So the accessibility of this game is really, really good. Oh God, what else are my notes? The mechanics, the fact that they're so interlaced, one action will let you do actions in other places and other things will let you get benefits here. So it really all works together.
It was as if she used music theory and interwove them, so it's like she's playing mechanics. Because on your turn you have an action to take, and there's 4 different actions you can take. And every action is important in its own way and works well with the others. So getting inspiration, well, that's how you get resources. Very, very important. Usually it's like one of the most important thing in any type of game like this. So that's already important. Second one is getting a fortune. Getting fortune helps the other 3 actions become better because they'll start tucking cards so that when you take that action, you can use your notes to expand upon that action and have combos. So that is, of course, a very important action. Then you have the get patrons. Now, get patrons help the get fortunes get better, just like get fortunes helps the other 3, but it also gives you opportunities to score more points by, achieving things that the patrons like.
Right.
So that's a very important action. And then, of course, playing music. That's how the whole game ends.
And that's where most of your points are going to come from, is the 2 types of music that you can perform, the chamber and concert music.
And plus, playing one of those pieces of music then gives you the musical notes, which then helps you play with all the cards to do the combos.
Your opponents can go to your performance gaining their own inspiration, but then also giving you tickets, which could become resources later or victory points later.
If you don't spend them.
So there is that positive player interaction, which we absolutely love in games and wish there were more of in more games, because it always moves the game forward rather than backwards.
Yes. And so all this just interweaving is like, well, that's definitely the melody, that's the rhythm, that's the beat. And it's all just working together very, very nicely, very smooth.
Yeah, so I think that, it covers it because we love, like we said, the production of it. great accessibility because of the production. So unfortunately, there are a few things we don't like about the game. And a big problem is there's just a misprint. And I don't know how it's going to get fixed. Hopefully it will. But there's one card, Lady Bell, who's a patron, is missing an icon in the upper left-hand corner. Now, it's the joy icon, which is a yellow flower. So you could just try to remember it because it really is simple. There's only 3 resources. Or you can go into Board Game Geek, and she's posted files for reprinting the card or printing the icon on a sticker that you could then put on the card. So that is a downside, is if you get this game anywhere near where this video is posted, at the time at which it's posted, it's going to still be an issue.
Yeah.
The other couple of things that we had trouble with is the groupthink. And this is going to be probably a problem in all player counts.
Yeah, the driving force of the game are the players themselves.
Yes.
And depending on how quickly you pursue music, will push the game forward. And it's often driven by the one who is pushing the hardest. And then everybody else sees that and just almost forces themselves to get in line just to be competitive.
Right, because if you don't keep up with the one or the several people that are going the fastest, well, you might still enjoy the game, but you definitely won't win the game.
Or will you?
No, because I had to keep up with you.
Well, that's the problem, is so far I've been leading and you've been following.
Right.
I haven't had you lead, because otherwise I'd try following. I just, or not try following, I just try doing my own thing.
The thing is, I'm naturally a turtler. So there's no point in which I would ever be ahead of you. You're the one who always goes fast like a rabbit.
So you say, group thinker.
It still comes down to, if you don't perform music and someone else is, they're going to qualify for Maestro cards before you, because almost all of the Maestro cards are keyed to performing music.
Yeah.
So I can go and get all the fortune cards in the world that I want, and I'm not getting any closer to... So if you are trying to play this game because you really like engine building, it's going to take other players like you who are slower at doing that to really dig into the engine building. Because for us, what we did is, I would call more on the level of some combos where, okay, I did an action and I was able to do like one thing that let me go do a different thing, and that was it. There was no zipping this way, that way, and so on. It's not a hugest engine building.
But you could, if you play slowly.
You could, if you play slowly. So this is again where if you
But you still need to play the music in order to have the notes to actually affect the combos.
So it's a balancing thing, but if you have someone just being as efficient as possible in playing music and not caring about the engine part of it, it is possible they will drive the game towards a conclusion faster than the other players are ready for it.
Right.
So it's more of just something to be aware of, but then this is also common to most or many race to the finish games.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those things to be aware of. The other thing is you have to spend one of those music notes to flush a row, which is very expensive, because those music notes are essentially your workers. You use them to activate cards in a column that where you've taken that action as your main action for that turn. And so early on, when you really want to try to build an engine, you don't have those extra notes to just throw away to flush a row. Later on in the game, yeah, you'll probably have a lot, but then you'll have less need to do it. So I just wish there had been a different mechanism
built in there
for flushing the rows that didn't require you throwing away a worker to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could still probably do a house rule, like you can flush a row, but it's going to temporarily tie up 2 notes. So you take the 2 notes, you can't use them on your turn, but you can flush a row, and then whatever notes you have left, then you can do combos with.
I would be fine with that if it wasn't a permanent loss.
Right.
But if it was like, instead of like if I was going to activate a card, or like 2 even, you're right, I would be more okay with that, because then it would allow me to build up the engine to move forward with the game, but I'd still have those music notes to activate cards next turn.
Right.
So that's
something to think about.
Something to think about for sure. However, I think that was it for what we didn't like about the game. So who is this for?
Intermediate and hardcore gamers,
Yeah.
because of just how much interwoven stuff that you have to keep in your head. You need a more experienced gamer to understand the whole flow of the game and the dynamic to not only do well, but to also enjoy themselves.
Agreed.
I think it just might be a little too heavy for a family weight or less.
Yeah.
Or a very casual gamer.
Agreed. All right, ratings.
So, for our ratings, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, a reason why, add them together, and see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Ovation roll for you?
It rolled a 5. There is a lot I really, really, really love about this game. We've talked endlessly about it, just the production, the mechanisms, the theme, it all works really well together. And the only things I don't like is the cost of clearing a row and the dangers of groupthink. But then again, I don't generally like a lot of race to the finish games. I prefer games that say, you've got 5 rounds to accomplish this thing, because then everybody has the same amount of time to plan out what they're going to do and see if they can get it done within that time. That's just generally me. But I still think it's really great. I still really enjoy it. We're definitely keeping it, because I'm pretty sure Will's going to rate it really high too.
A 6.
Yeah, I figured as much.
So I like groupthink.
Yeah.
I especially like groupthinks in board games, because what that means is the game is being very successful at having social interaction. And honestly, that is one of the main reasons why I play board games, is to socially interact with others. So the fact that I'm affecting how other people are thinking
It's so stressful.
is so amazing. It's so wonderful.
Why do you have to be so stressful about it? You know, you ruined Village for me because of it.
I opened your eyes to see that there's not just one way to play a game, because that's another thing that you also are complain about, is the fact, there's only one way to really win. Like, well, let me show you. This game feels entirely different when you play it like this.
That's true.
And you're like, holy crap, what's going on? So yeah, I absolutely love the groupthink. The cost of the notes is something that is very the designer is very aware of, because they do say it's a very costly thing. They acknowledge it in the rules, and seeing it from a design perspective, it makes a lot of sense. The cost is highest at the beginning of the game, when clearing the rows has the potential for the most benefit.
It does. It has the biggest impact.
So therefore, it's on a scale, which is why it feels and is as expensive as it is. And for the last thing to be, the problem being a reprint, shoot, I'm reaching. I'm honestly just reaching for something to complain about at that point, because that type of stuff happens.
And honestly, when it comes to the rows issue, I've not seen the perfect answer.
Right.
Because we've seen it where you just at the end of the round, you discard.
And sometimes that feels too fast.
And then that's too fast. Or it's pay resources. Well, I need all the resources I can get. I do really like your temporarily
tie up
too, because one, you can't do that from the very, very beginning when that would be the most impactful. You have to at least perform one music. And if you're then if you've had 2 and you only have 2 and you're tossing them to get rid of a row, well, then now you can't activate any cards that round. But then that's because hopefully you got a card that will help you the next round.
Yeah, I think another reason why it was decided to be a music note loss is because in the Fringe case, where you're playing with very aggressive players,
right?
And like, maybe I'm watching you and I see that you're clearly going for a particular maestro, and there are easy chamber or concert music that you're going to go for. I'll just pay, clear it out. You don't have that option anymore. Fill it up new, and you're like, well, crap. Okay, now I'm. Yeah. So, and then I have a very bad experience. But that then comes at the cost of me sabotaging my own engine. Yeah. So there, like I said, design-wise, it's extremely smart. It's harsh.
It's harsh.
Don't get me wrong, it's harsh, but it makes tons and tons of sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 for me. So 11 out of 12. This is a really good game.
Yep.
I definitely recommend if you can get it, get it.
Now, and I did see on Board Game Geek that the Grand Gamers Guild was listed as a publisher. So because this is a New Zealand designer and company, I am hoping that means that Grand Gamers Guild will be the one releasing it in the United States. I did not check that information ahead of time, but hopefully they will be, so that this would be more available than having to pay it to be shipped from New Zealand, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right. And Sarah.
Yes?
One of the things that also struck me about this game that we didn't really talk about is the fact that after playing it, I feel smarter.
Okay.
And I know we've played other games. Daybreak comes to mind.
Yes.
Do you get that same type of feeling playing Ovation?
I'm not sure if I feel smarter, because I'm usually stressed out, at least so far.
Well, I mean, I'm feeling all classy. I have the G stave in front of me, and it looks all fancy.
What motivation I have, though, is to listen to classical music.
And doesn't that make you feel smarter?
I guess
it forces you to go outside of the game to seek more information.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure I equivalent that with being smarter as being inquisitive.
Okay.
It does make me think. I don't know I'm necessarily smarter for it, but it makes me question, hey, I don't know who this composer is. Actually, no, I guess I would say I feel dumber because I don't know who they are.
But then you did.
But then I go look. So, but it's
smart you upside your head.
There you go. It smarts me upside the head.
Yeah, and you can get smarted upside the head if you check out Ovation.
Yes.
And we've been Rolling with Reviews. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Discord, we have a channel on Tabletop Express. Check the show notes for the invite link.
If you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.